Okay, welcome back. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to transform this system of equations into something that we can easily solve. Okay, this is going to be what we will call Gauss's method or Gaussian elimination. Okay, so we have the system of equations. Now I set up this where the variables are all in nice, neat rows. Okay, you'll see why later on. But what we're going to do is we're going to do steps. Okay, so we're going to transform this. And so the first thing I want to do is, let's say I want to deal with the first row, x1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap row 3 with row 1. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch or swap row 1 row 1 and row 3. And so what we're going to get is we'll get this. So we'll get oops. And okay, so now we got that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the top row, row 1, by 3. Okay, so I'm going to do 3 times row 1. And so that's going to give me what? That's going to give me x1 plus 6x2 equals 9. And then that'll give me, again, I'm just going to copy the rest of them. Okay? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take what? Negative 1 times row 1, and I'm going to add it to row 2. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take negative 1 times this and I'm going to add it to this row. And so what will happen here is I'm going to end up eliminating, right? Eliminating the x variable in row 2. Okay, so now I'm just going to copy this again. And so now what happens if I take negative this and add to this? So negative 1 plus 1 is 0, so that's going to go away. Negative 6 plus 5 is a negative 1, so I'm going to get minus x squared, or excuse me, x2. And then 0, right? Negative 1 times 0 is 0, plus negative 2 is still negative 2, so this is going to become negative or minus 2x sub 3. And then of course, negative 1 times 9 is negative 9, plus 2 is negative 7. So I'm going to get a negative 7 here. And then of course, I'm just going to rewrite the third row, 3x3 equals 9. Okay, so far so good. Now, so these steps have brought the system to a form that we can now easily solve for each variable. Okay, so if we look here, we've got everything, right? We've got 2 variables here, we've got 2 variables here, and this one can easily be solved. So we can easily solve for x3, right? So x sub 3 is going to equal to 3, right? And once we know what x3 is going to be, now we can back substitute into the next one. So now that we know what x3 is, now we can substitute here, and we'll only have one variable to solve. So we could say, hey, negative x2 minus 2 times 3 is now equal to negative 7. So that's going to give us negative 6. And so if we add 6 to both sides, we're going to get negative 1. So we're going to end up with x2 is equal to 1, right? And then finally, now that we know what x3 and x2 are, so x3 is 3 and x2 is 1, now we can substitute into this one, right? x2 is 1, so now we can substitute 1 in here, so we're going to get 6. So we get x1 plus 6 equals 9, so if we subtract 6 from both sides, we get x1 is equal to 3, and our solution, right, is now going to be the ordered triple, which is going to be what? It's going to be 1, comma, 3, comma, 1. And that is our solution. Okay? And so that is how we do the method called Gauss's method. Okay? And so now in the next video we'll introduce the theorem, which is Gauss's method or Gaussian elimination, and we'll go from there.